Hey, what's going on, man? How are you?
Nothing much, brother. How are you?
Doing great, man. Had a good weekend, and I am looking forward to this work week. Hopefully, it's going to be a baller work week, but not hopefully it will be because I'm putting positive vibes out there. How about you?
Yes, sir. It will be. I'm good, brother. Yeah, I got a short week this week. I'm gonna be actually heading up to California on Thursday for my brother's wedding, and then I'll be back next Tuesday late. So, um, it's gonna be a fun one. We're gonna have the whole family there, so it'll be long, but it'll be fun. So I'm excited about that. So just trying to get some deals locked up and situated before I head out. So
Wedding
doing well.
season, baby. I love that. I love that.
Sir. Yes, sir, it
Sweet.
is.
Dude, I'm so excited because next week is going to be an awesome week for NGRN. I was able to speak with Damien, who was able to put this all together, and he was telling me a little bit about what it was. And here I was thinking it was a mindset seminar like class we were going to have. Actually, it's going to be a scripting class. So I think it's going to be really beneficial for those who are able to attend, just learning how to build scripts, how to increase productivity, and how to increase closing sales just by saying the right things and scripting accordingly.
Mm,
It's going to be
yeah,
super beneficial. So
it's
definitely
so
10
good.
out of 10.
So good. It's the what's there is a saying about that about your opportunities are based on the questions that you ask or something like that. I'm butchering it, but you get the gist. So yeah, I'm excited. That's gonna be awesome. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
So, Drew, I know you got our big topic of the day. So, if you don't mind, I'll just kind of run through what I got and then we'll shoot it off to you. So, I'm going to be going over the Tucson metrics today in the real estate market. So, in September of 2023, the average sales price in Tucson, Arizona was $330,500. As far as new listings, we are at one of the lowest points, and let me double check. Yes, we are actually, in fact, at the lowest point we've been in the past 10 years in Tucson, and by a big margin. So the average new listings is probably around 16 to 17,000. We are currently at 11,000. Okay, new listings. So I'm telling you, the graph is all the way up here, and then right now we're sitting way down here. So that's a very important metric to know. Days on market, we are coming in at 15 days, which is still pretty quick. I mean, 2 weeks, so that's really quick. And then our month supply is right at a 1.9 in Tucson still. So we're under 2 month supply in Tucson. Again, that just shows you the speed, the velocity of the real estate market. Again, anything between 0 and 4 months, that's going to be your buyers, or excuse me, your sellers market. Anything between 4 and 6 months, that's going to be a buyer and sellers market. And then anything 6 months and above is a buyer's market. So again, we're under two. We're still in a very strong seller's market. Although we're seeing that increase in days on market, again, historically over the past 10 years, we're still very strong. The past 10-year average for days on market in Tucson is anywhere between, looks like 30 to 60. It's kind of been the average. So we're still well below that by half at minimum. So really strong real estate market. Again, I keep saying it. I don't really see anything taking it out other than maybe a war, a civil war or something like that. But other than that, even in increases in rates, I just really don't see it moving a whole lot. So that's where we're at.
That's crazy. And I was actually having a conversation with Guy earlier. For those of you who don't know Guy is actually one of my business partners. We were having a conversation and we were talking about this, the whole economy and the recession and, housing, and will there be sort of a housing crisis that we could potentially see? And, you're exactly right. Like barring some pretty extreme circumstances, like we kind of see housing prices stay the same, because if you just look back at a macro scale of economics and just understand that supply and demand, and there's still much more demand than there is supply. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think housing prices are here to stay and could potentially even continue to move in the upward trajectory, because there is more demand for homes than there is supply. So
100%.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, but cool. Well, hopping into my section and what I've got. So kind of running over just our metrics that we usually follow for indices. S&P 500 last week was up about 1%. So year to date, it's up about 14.5%. So staying pretty resilient to everything that's going on. However, the Russell and the Dow can't say the same. Russell 2000 was down last week about 0.76 and down about 0.26 for the year. The Dow Jones up last week about 1% and still up about 2.6% year to date, but I still see a lot of movement and fluctuation, and I can see the Dow ending in a negative direction. My big hit point that I want to hit on has to do with kind of politically what's going on and everything that's happening. So economists got together last year and said that there was a 50% chance for a recession to happen this year, meaning 2023, we would see a recession that would hurt. Now, statistically, a recession is deemed as 2 quarters of negative GDP growth, which we've seen for now several quarters. And so I say that to say we are already currently in a recession. However, there are some numbers like unemployment and job opportunities that are sort of prompting us to say we're not quite in a recession because it's not hurting the general public as much as, you know, a true recession would. We are seeing heightened inflation numbers, but generally people still have their jobs and there are more jobs out there than people are applying for. So the job market's pretty healthy. This year they got together and they're predicting a 48% chance of recession. So what that tells me is there's less pessimism in the economy, meaning we're getting closer and closer to more of a positive outlook, which is good, right? We're starting to see some positive opportunities, some positive marks, meaning that we might be kind of getting out generally unscathed. Now, the big issue is what I want to hit on is, you know, could the war that we're seeing in Israel be almost like a Band-Aid to the US economy? Most times, wars spike a lot of job opportunities because there's a lot of new jobs that are created to, you know, mass produce military ammunition and weapons. And so we see a lot of heightened job opportunities as well as pay generally increases. And usually there's almost like a golden age that happens during the war and then post-war, right? We saw it really big after World War II with the baby boomer generation where they, you know, families came home and they started having a lot of kids and there was just a lot of flourishing families at that time, right? And so, you know, could this, depending upon the severity that we determine to get involved or decide to get involved with the war, could this be a Band-Aid to our economy? And honestly, you know, I'm not too familiar with a lot of what's going on in terms of like specifics and how much we could get involved. But from the past, I could see it being a Band-Aid, right? Like we do have some true core problems with our economy that need to get fixed. And I believe that the only way they're going to get fixed is to have a massive sort of decrease in these scenario like this number. We need a recession basically to kind of fix what has happened in the past. So I think we're just kind of kicking the can down the road and it'll just get harder and harder the further we kick it. But, you know, I don't quite know. I have no crystal ball. So everything I'm saying is just pure speculation based upon the things that I have seen. But I think generally, you know, we're kind of in a bit of a pickle where we might get a Band-Aid or like a brief, you know, just pack and pass through what's going on until we truly address the problem in the future. So that's my big update.
Yeah, I think that similar to that, like on a macroeconomic scale, you could see that in real estate as well. Some of the conversations that I have with people much older than me, and something that I always think about is my view on the real estate market and the future for it. Is it naive because I'm young and I don't have as much experience people older than me? Or because it's based in a lot of data that I research, is it accurate? So that's one of my fears. And I've come to find through talking with people older than me that my outlook on the real estate market, there is a lot of truth to it. However, they're still uncertain of what long term happens because you have to understand not only, the US is one of the newest countries to ever exist, right? So we're practically a baby when it comes to every other country in the world. Not to say that means we're doing everything right or wrong. I'm just saying that's a fact. And with that, one of the things that my, older teachers or mentors have told me, and one of the ideologies I have in mind that is accurate is this: because ever since we got off the gold standard in the United States, inflation is is necessary. It's absolutely necessary because of the formula of money. And you can't just not back currency with anything, and over time it just takes care of itself. It will not work. So you have to have something backing the currency that you use in an economy, because if you don't, and what we're experiencing today is inflation, and the inflation, what that really is the increase in money supply, which ultimately creates higher prices, right? So when you think of, oh, increase in the money supply, that's inflation. Well, what are they doing to increase money supply? And that's printing money. And when the money and the currency is not backed by anything, all they can do is print money. And so that's what we're seeing today. Now, what does that mean for the future of real estate and the future of the economy and inflation and the, average day US citizen? To me, it's scary, because when does it end, right? Just so all this to say, to your point, Drew, of we're just kicking it down the road, you're absolutely right. Because the average price of a home right now, 330 grand in Tucson, right? Well, what's going to stop it from going to 500 grand in the next 10 years? Nothing really, without nothing backing the currency, right? And so, a concern that I have for a lot of young people, Drew, is that we are going to grow up in a society where the money is not backed by anything, and there's just inflation for the rest of our lives. And so people don't really have any assets. They don't have it. They don't have anything to protect themselves against inflation, because when you have an increase in money supply, you will always be subject to the market and what the market's willing to pay. And so if you don't own any assets or businesses to combat that inflation, you are screwed. And so all that to say, I agree with you. I think that ultimately what needs to happen is really a backed currency. We need to get back on the gold standard, and that would solve a lot of the issues. However, will that happen? Probably not. I think what's going to happen is we're just going to keep printing money out out our butt, hoping that someone down the line will take care of the issue, and it's never going to happen. So my big call to action after Drew, I appreciate that, that tidbit. I think is to what I will always tell young people: figure out a way to own real estate, figure out a way to own a business, figure out a way to own stock, figure out a way to own minerals, figure out a way to own land. I mean, you have to do these things, because Ford Motor Company and all these freaking massive corporations you work for, Amazon, they're not looking out for you. They could care less. Their pension plan that's going to give you a little bit of money, or their social security, I mean, that is pennies on the dollar that will not be worth jack squat by the time you retire. However, that piece of property or land you own will be worth 10x what you paid for it today. And so that's really the only thing that will hedge against inflation over time. So and again, that's not me saying that, that's just the peers that I listen to. So that would be my big call to action. If you guys are watching this, or you work with clients, just long term, you got to have a strategy in place. You got to have a bread and butter, and you have to get after it, because no one else, not in our generation, no one else is looking after you. You know what I mean? So you got to do it. You got to do it on your own.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, I think, and this is and like kind of to reiterate what you had said, right? Like, this is not fear mongering. It's just really what it is. It's how it is. These
Yeah.
tangible assets that you claim to, like, you have to hold it, because if you don't have assets, if war breaks out in our home country, which is possible, if the trust that our dollar is traded on today goes out the window, and we trade currencies, and now we go to the, the Chinese yen, or the Japanese yuan. Like, if I flipped them, I don't know, but if that were to happen, right, like, which could, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't have anything tangible to back you to say, actually, I am worth something. I am worth, because you're right. We're trading the dollar on trust. And just a brief statistic to kind of close everything out, I think is important to know. Like, if we trend on the exact same trajectory that we're on right now, in 40 years from now, when you and I are in our 60s, Kate, the average home price will be $1.8 million. Average home.
Ooh.
Average car price will be 65 to 70,000 for a little like Honda Civic type car, like just
Oh my
average,
goodness.
right? Or car price, right? And the average salary will be upwards of $250,000.
Oh my Lord.
Say all of that to say, right? Like, what we're playing is we're playing a game of things are getting more expensive, so minimum wage is increasing to catch it, right? But then what happens when minimum wage increases? Things become more expensive. So we're playing a game of trying to play catch up to what things
Yeah.
are going. And these businessmen who are back here creating the products and things that you and I are living off of are just saying, hey, more profits for me. It's charging me more money to pay for my employees. So in order to keep up with the cost of creation of the product, I need to charge more for my product. So it's this never ending game that you're exactly right. We're playing in the cat's tail here. We're just running around in circles. So
Yeah. And there will come a time where you have to address it, you know,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
we talk with Mike Fig, and
Mm-hmm.
he says, and he's a big historian guy, and he says every country has done this pretty much. Maybe not every country, but he says most countries who do this, they get off some type of standard with their currency, and long enough time, they all crash. Every single one of them in history has crashed. Like, you can't, it doesn't work. And that's the problem. But again, people in office and leadership in this country doesn't actually want to address the issue. They just want to kick it down to the next person. And it
Absolutely.
really doesn't take, I mean, we got to take care of the issue now so that the generations after us don't have to do it. Right. So,
Absolutely.
but anyway, now that we solved the US economy, uh, Drew, do you have a quote for us?
I don't. I botched it there. I did
No,
not.
I don't either. That's why I asked you. Let's see. Let's see if we can put one together.
Well, while Cade's looking that up, reminder, October 26th, so next Thursday at the Sands Club from 5:30 to 8:30. We would love to see you there. Stu Schulman's going to be kind of producing the scripting seminar. He'll be introduced by Damian Hubble. So I'm really excited. There's going to be a really good crowd there. Just sharing as much as you can. And if it's something that you and your friends you might have friends that would be interested in attending. It's open to everybody. You do not need to have a membership to the Sands to go. You do not need to even know Kate or I to go. If you find us randomly on YouTube, we'd love to have you come if you're in the Tucson area. But just share with everybody, because I think it's going to be a really important class. And I mean, just sheer metrics alone, Damien had shared that his closing rate for his company, which is a very big all-state branch here in Southern Arizona. It's actually the biggest, I think, in the West Coast. They do the most sales on the West Coast. Has doubled their closing percentage
Oh,
based on the scripts that are happening from this man. So definitely need to be there and attend. It's super important, and it's going to be a really good class. I'm very excited.
that is awesome. Kudos
Yeah.
to Damien. Thank you.
Thank you, Damien.
All right. So this quote today actually comes from The Strangest Secret. Shout out to Dalton and DP. I actually shared The Strangest Secret with someone recently, so it's been on my mind. So here's just a clip basically from it. We must control our thinking. The same rule that can lead a man to a life of success, wealth, happiness, and all the things he ever dreamed of for himself and his family, that very same law can lead him into the gutter. It's all in how he uses it, for good or for bad. That is the strangest secret in the world.
I love
So just get a grip of y'all's thinking. Even this morning, dude, I went and was supposed to show a house, and the client just bailed on me. And I'm like, as I'm driving home, I'm like, gosh dang, that's a waste of time. That was a waste of my time. And then I caught myself right there. I said, no, that was not a waste of time. I showed up for my client. That will pay dividends. And then as we're on this call, she's like calling me back because she, missed it. So just remember to everything that you could want, you just think, you plant that seed in your mind, you think about it, and you will put a lens, a invisible lens over the eyes of your face, and you will see life through the lens in which you think. That's what creates opportunity. So
I love it. I love it. Well, dude, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to our next one. And then again, the NGRN meetup. I'm excited. So, all
stoked, boy. Yeah, thank you for your time, Drew.
right, we'll see you soon.
Later.